What's up, guys? Today we got a request, the Galaxy S22 versus the Xiaomi 12T. So let's go ahead and get started. So a Galaxy S22 will cost you renew refurbished. I got it for around 400 bucks, probably a little bit cheaper than that, and brand new like 600 bucks. The 12T will cost you around 500 to 600 bucks. These aren't in the renewed marketplace yet. So let's go ahead and take a look at the hardware on these two devices. So the 12T, they both have the glass and metal design on here, so they both feel very premium in the hand. Alright, so let's talk about the displays. So the S22 does have a 6.1 inch display. It is a dynamic AMOLED display. It's 120 Hz HDR10 plus, 1300 nits peak brightness, 1080p 425 for the PPI. It's got the punch hole. And then you also have the 12T here. Now this is technically it's kind of like a 2K display. So it's a 1220 by 2712 resolution, 446 for the PPI, and it's a 6.67 inch display. And then it is also 120 Hz HDR10 plus, and then this gets up to 900 nits peak brightness. So as you can see, both screens really nice. Really colorful, almost pretty much identical to the eye as far as color. And like I said, the 12T is a higher resolution slightly, so you can take advantage of that 2K content. But both screens look really good. Honestly, like I said, they're both 120 Hz as well too, which is nice. So I have no issues with the display on here. I do think the S22 has a little bit slimmer bezels as well. So I don't know if you can tell, but the bezels are a little bit slimmer, so it does look a little bit better on the front. But overall, these are two fantastic displays, so you can't go wrong with either of them. Let's talk about the specs a little bit more, because this is pretty interesting. So with the S22, you do have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip and the Adreno 730. No SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. On the Xiaomi, you do have their MediaTek Dimensity 8100 Ultra chipset, and then you also have 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM, no SD card support. You can see that the S22 has a higher single core, but you also have a higher multi-core on the 12T. Both these phones are like blazing fast. Here it really comes down to which UI you prefer. I personally prefer One UI, over the MIUI experience. I think One UI is a little bit more polished to me, and there's a little bit more useful features. But as you guys saw there, these are like almost spot on and when it comes to overall speed and stuff like that. So it's really fast on both of these guys. They're almost pretty much the same. As far as the gaming experience goes, we'll launch something a little bit more heavier like PUBG. Yeah, so as far as speed goes, both of these phones are very fast when it comes to speed. Both of these chipsets are pretty good. As far as like gaming performance, the MediaTek doesn't seem to be as hot or to heat up as much. Now the S22 does I'm not like a huge gamer, but the S22, it can get a little bit warm long periods of gaming. We can see the 12T beats it right there, just slightly behind. And let's check out the graphic performance. I believe the graphics are pretty much the same here. I don't think either of these phones can do 90 frames. I'm not sure. Can't remember. Oh yeah, so the 12T can do 90 frames at smooth, which is really sweet. So you can take advantage of that. And I'll drop a full gaming test for the 12T, but there's no option for 90 frames on the S22. So you can only play at, the 60 frames. And a lot of people ask me, is there a big difference with 90 frames? For shooting games, yes. The 90 frames versus 60 frames, it is a big difference. So even though the S22 is very smooth at 60, if you're like a gamer, then you'll know like the higher the frame rate, it's just more, it just feels way more instant. It just feels more instant. So yeah. So overall, I think the 12T is better for gaming because this phone doesn't get as hot during long periods of gaming. So That's the only thing with these Snapdragon chips, is that they sort of heat up, to me, more than I would like. But the 60 frames on here is very smooth. But like I said, you definitely will notice that that 90 frames there for sure. Let's check out the speakers. We're at max volume. Oh yeah, 12T definitely way better bass and a little bit louder too. You can actually feel the bass. It almost makes the S22 sound flat in comparison. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Yeah, I definitely really like the speakers on the 12T. You can actually really feel that bass on there. So both of these phones have under the display fingerprint sensors. You can also do face unlock. They work really well, very fast. Only thing about the 12T is that the fingerprint sensor is really down below. Like, I wish it was just up a little bit more. But they both work perfectly fine. They both feel pretty much the same. But as far as features go, I really like the Samsung desktop support, secure folders, stuff like that. It's really Samsung desktop support is like the main thing that I really like on Samsung phones. And also, I just think the One UI is a little bit cleaner than MIUI, in my opinion. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the cameras. All right, so let's talk about the cameras. With the 12T, we have a 108 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel macro. It shoots in 4K 30, and then a 20 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 1080p 60. With the S22, you do have a 50 megapixel standard on here, and then a 10 megapixel telephoto. It does 3x, and then you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 8K 24, and then you have a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. Let me know which shots do you guys prefer. Look at the side-by-side stills. Let me know which one you thought was better. The video on the S22. It's our 3X. So our 0.6. Alright guys, here's the video on the 12T. You guys can see here. Here's my 2x zoom. Let me know what you guys think. Alright, so let's talk about battery life. So I think the battery life goes to the 12T pretty easily. It's got a 5,000 milliamp battery. Not only that, it has 120 watt charging that you actually get the charger in the box, which is absolutely crazy. This phone does lack wireless charging though, so that could be a downside for you. Now, the S22 does have a 3,700 milliamp battery, 25 watt charging, and it does have wireless and reverse wireless charging as well. You definitely get a little bit better battery life on the 12T for sure, and like I said, it charges amazingly fast. But you do have wireless charging on the the S22. So it really depends on what you want. But that is pretty much it, guys. I think it comes down to the photos, really. The photos, also the battery life, or the charging speeds. That's sort of like, it depends on the person. But I think this comes down to the photos and whether you like One UI or MIUI. Be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.